GitHub Actions, as you're all aware, is the key pillar and enabler to make DevOps possible natively within the GitHub platform. It helps our developers to transform their idea to production. Or, in other words, it enables them to transform their concept ready code through various phases of software development lifecycle to make it customer ready code. And it ensures that this code is shipped with high quality, faster cadence, and with confidence. In today's session, we'll briefly look at how do you deploy using GitHub Actions, how do you do security harden for your deployments with Actions workflows and make them more secure, and then how do you ensure controlled and safe deployment rollouts across your environments using deployment protection rules. As you're all familiar, GitHub Actions is our simple to implement, secure, and native CI/CD solution that is purpose built for all the automation needs of developers that work within GitHub. But today we'll focus on the deployments part of it. As you're all aware, it's a simple, secure CI/CD solution that is very native to GitHub integrated DevOps platform. And it ensures a very developer friendly experience that is also extensible and powered by community. GitHub Actions also has various features that enable large teams and enterprises to secure their software release cycles and ensure governance and compliance needs are met at every step of their software development lifecycle. They could ensure that organization and repo level policies are set at all places needed, and guardrails are ensured that all their teams operate with utmost efficiency and can just scale across their compliance and security needs. If you look at the actions from our partner ecosystem, there is a huge repertoire of actions that are powered by community as well as our official partners. There are almost 1,000 plus actions available on our marketplace that can power CI/CD workflows across various languages, tests, and frameworks. And not just that, we've actually worked with most of the cloud partners and popular infrastructure providers and have actions that are readily available that can be knitted together to create deployment workflows targeting any cloud or any infrastructure. Additionally, we also have worked with various official partners like ServiceNow, Datadog, and hundreds of other partners to ensure that there are actions that are just readily available for monitoring, observability, and security needs. Putting them all together can just create that magical automation workflow just in time for you. And not just that, we also have a lot of getting started experiences like the starter workflows. These are pre-configured and customizable workflows that you could just pick and choose based upon how and what you would like to really author using your actions. There are also numerous number of deployment starter workflows that can help you target any of the popular clouds and cloud resources, be it containers or Kubernetes. All that you just need to do is to discover the required deployment workflow using the rich search and filtering capabilities. Now, that's with getting started with deployments, but that's not it. GitHub Actions actually lets you scale securely with your deployment workflows using various powerful features that we have within the platform. The most important one being the OpenID Connect support. So, when it comes to deployments to clouds, the first thing that you would have to care about is authentication and authorization. And with that comes the burden of secret management. For you to really do secure deployments to clouds, GitHub OpenID Connect support will ensure that you don't have to manage your secrets in multiple places anymore and bother about secret rotation and secret management. Because OpenID Connect support really relies on that trust that you establish at your cloud provider end and ensure that you set the granular policies of how you would want your action workflows to access your cloud resources. Once that trust is established, all that would happen is each time when an action workflow runs, an auto generated token gets exchanged between the action workflow and your cloud provider, which is all happening just in time. And the access is also available only for the duration of the job. So, secret rotation automatically taken care of. And there is no more the hassle of maintaining multiple copies of secrets or ensuring that they are rotated. This OIDC token actually contains multiple verifiable identifiers about this workflow that you can use when you set your cloud policies. This is a quick example of how an action deployment workflow targeting Azure would look like before and after a OIDC. On the left, as you can see, Azure Service Principal needs to be stored as a GitHub secret and needs to be referenced as a secret from the action workflow. But with OpenID Connect support, all we would do is to establish that trust between action workflow and the Azure AD federated credential. And in your action workflow, you're no more referencing any of the secrets. So we have actually worked with a lot of these cloud providers to enhance their login actions to support OpenID Connect. With that, all that you have to do is to just modify your deployment workflows to consume these login actions. Not just that, you can also use OpenID Connect with some of the other powerful features within Actions platform, like the reusable workflows. No more copying and pasting the same deployment workflow across your various teams and various branches. All that you have to use is to define a reusable workflow that is centrally managed and then lay down your OIDC policy so that the trust conditions are set on job workflow ref claim, and you could then set the magic between OIDC and reusable workflows to be centrally managing how your cloud deployment configurations are set in a standard way across your teams. In addition to all of this, we also have support for various org level and repo level APIs that can help you set these standard policies on how your token and the subject claim value needs to look across your teams. So, yes, it's not just about security, it's also about that standard way of managing your cloud policies across your teams. So that's OpenID Connect support, that's ensuring secure deployments at scale. And then let's look at how do you actually safely roll out your deployments across your environments with various features that are natively provided within GitHub environments. Yes, GitHub has an entity called environment because that's how typically every deployment pipeline would look, with you progressively promoting your artifacts across various deployment stages like production, pre production, development, and so on. So, environments can be actually used in your action workflows to call out that each job is targeting a specific environment. And then in the back end, you could actually configure numerous policies on these environments called protection rules, which can act as guardrails. And only when all of the conditions that actually are configured on environment are true is when your deployments get rolled out to your environment. Environments actually provide two powerful features, one being the protection rules and other being secrets. So in this example, you can actually see that I have a Kubernetes deployment happening, which is referencing the kube config. So you can very narrowly scope the access to these secrets by defining them within the environment scope. So you can configure protection rules on environments to control deployments to your environments. The most popular one being required reviewers, where you could configure that your team members would be providing those manual approvals to either provide a green signal to a deployment targeting an environment or to just stop it. Alternatively, you could also configure a branch protection rule, which is actually checking that only specific set of branches are targeting those critical environments. For example, you can set a condition saying only your release branches are targeting your production environments. And then the brand new feature that we have very recently rolled out, the custom protection rules, which actually allows you to integrate external systems to gate your deployments. So, talking more about this, these custom protection rules are super extensible because they are powered by GitHub apps, and all that you need to do is to write an app that subscribes to our new deployment protection rule webhook to qualify it as a protection rule powered app. Any developer, any team could just write this app and manage their own gating logic to control their deployments. We're also working with a lot of third party integrators and cloud partners who are working with us to create their official gating apps and are publishing to GitHub Marketplace. And a developer would just need to discover the suitable app that they have to install on their organization or repo and ensure that their cloud deployment workflows are guarded using these protection rules. Some of the popular use cases around protection rules are typically those change requests which are created in an external system, say ServiceNow, who is our official partner, that can be used to guard that, all your security and compliance needs are met even before you roll out any of your deployments. You could also have a use case where you want to monitor the health of your cloud resource or your deployment target and ensure that your environment is ready for the next set of deployment rollouts. The most popular use case is, checking for a canary deployment before you actually do a broader production rollout. We have official partners like Datadog, Splunk, Honeycomb, New Relic who have created our official protection rules apps, which can be readily plugged into your deployment workflows to ensure that this use case is covered. We're also working with some of the uh, code quality and testing partners who can actually help you check the test results of your automated tests on CI builds and then ensure that your safe deployments are happening to your environment. Okay, let's look at the user experience for this. To configure an environment with a deployment protection rule, the prereq is that you install a GitHub app that has to be installed at the organization or repo level so that this rule is available across all your environments. And then each rule needs to be explicitly enabled at the individual environment level. For example, you might want your dev deployments to just take deployments without any guardrails. However, you might want to protect your production environments. So you could configure more rules on your production environment, all of which need to pass before the deployments get rolled out to your production environment. Admins can also have a override where they could bypass these production rules, but that's an additional feature that we give to the administrators so that they could have additional control on their deployment rollouts. So each time a workflow job actually runs and targets this environment, it verifies that all the rules that are configured on that environment are evaluated in parallel, and only when all of them succeed is when the environment would take the next set of deployments. Let's look at a quick demo where I would show you how you could use these deployment protection rules to do safe and controlled deployments to your environments. So here is my demo repo where I have a static web app that I want to deploy using my GitHub deployment workflow. In my workflow, I have two jobs where the first one is my canary deployment, which is targeting the environment called GitHub Pages. So I'm using the native deployment target that GitHub offers, GitHub Pages, and this job, it has all the actions that is needed to deploy to GitHub Pages. And then I have my production environment where the deployments would roll out only when the canary is successful. So I have used this needs to ensure that canary is successful and then the production would actually get started. Here I'm referencing the environment production and I'm using the actions to deploy to Azure static web apps and deploy the same static web app to Azure this time. Let's look at the configuration that I have done on the environment side. As you can see on my GitHub Pages environment, I have just configured one branch protection rule to configure that only those deployments that get triggered from the main branch can target this environment. And on my production environment, I know this is high critical for me. And so I have ensured that it follows not just the branch protection rule, but also multiple other rules that are configured here. One of which is the Datadog configuration, where I'm ensuring that my Azure Static Web App is all healthy before the deployment is rolled out. And not just that, I also have two other rules that are configured, and these are actually community powered, and I will show you how it works. Let's just trigger a new deployment and see how these protection rules can ensure that my deployments are safely rolled out across these environments. As you can see, the Canary deployment has just begun because it made that one branch protection rule validation. And since this is all happening on main branch, it just allowed the deployments to happen to GitHub Pages. And Pages deployment has already completed. However, oh, my production deployment has failed. Let me see what are the issues. There seems to be an issue that has stopped the deployment to this protection rule. Let's just see what it is. I seem to have a showstopper here which is stopping my deployment. Let's just remove the labels so that it now allows my deployment again. Now, when I rerun the deployment to the failed job, it just instantly checks my rules again. And this time, as you can clearly see, all my rules have just passed, including the issues as well as the Datadog rule, and the deployment to production has just begun. So if you see what is happening with each of these rules, for Datadog, I have configured that there is a specific composite monitor that I have configured on the Datadog side, needs to be validated and needs to be okay for my deployments to be passed to production. And the other two rules are ensuring that my deployments are happening in a non-lockout time zones. And I have created a configuration on what are the allowed deployment slots for my production environment. And since we are in one of those safe zones, the deployment is allowed. And for my issues gate, I actually, as you have seen, I have written this configuration where I have said there is no showstopper bug that needs to be allowed to be present. So since all the rules have passed, there you go, my deployment is just success. As you can clearly see, you could use these deployment protection rules in numerous ways to write your own custom gating logic and control the deployments to your critical environments in a very safe and secure manner. So in the demo, you have seen how deployment protection rules have helped us control and safely roll out our deployments. So we're happy to announce that this feature is now in public beta. So you can create your own rules to gate your environments for controlled environments. Or you could just get started with one of our official apps from partners like Datadog, ServiceNow, Sentry, New Relic, NodeSource, and Honeycomb. Just to do a quick recap, in this session, we learned how GitHub Actions can enable deployments to any cloud or any on-premise deployment target like Kubernetes. OpenID Connect support and features like reusable workflows could actually enable secure deployments at scale. We've also learned how the new deployment protection rules feature could help you create your own gating logic and control your deployments across your environments in a very safe and very compliant manner. Hope this session was helpful. Thank you.